Hey, you guys, it's Stella Grizont from Oprah, where we help people work happier and live better. And today we have an amazing guest, Amanda Steinberg, founder of Daily Worth and Worth FM, and also named Oprah's like top 100 like
Super souls.
what is it?
Super souls.
Super souls.
Super soul, baby.
Oh my God, that's like you've been like blessed. Like I think that's amazing that you were in her like physical orbit. Is like how was that, by the way?
It was funny. I sat next to her at the photo shoot and I was like, "Hi, Oprah, I'm Amanda Steinberg." And she looked at me and she goes, "I know. I'm the one who invited you here." I was like, "Ah!" I just shut up and stopped talking.
Amazing. Okay. So Amanda and I we met like 7 years ago when she had just launched Daily Worth, which, by the way, provides a daily email in your inbox, helping you just build your financial wealth and be a more awesome person. And would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, it's about, being able to decide what's important to you and then learning how to fund it.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. I love the emails. But when we first met, you were speaking at an event that I had organized, and you just told me it was like the first event you ever spoke at, which I feel so privileged now.
The event for Daily Worth was your event.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So, what I remember about you was you were so passionate and you were so committed that, your business was going to blow up and impact millions. And you were just so committed. I looked at you and I said, this is happening. Like at that time, I think you had just had thousands of subscribers, but now you have over 1 million.
Yeah, more like hundreds at the time, probably. Who knows?
Or hundreds. Oh my God. Amazing. Amazing. So I invited Amanda to speak today because, ta-da! I love the cover, by the way.
Thank you.
Amanda just wrote this awesome book called Worth It, which has already kicked my butt into action in improving our financial well-being. So thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. I can't wait to hear what questions you have.
Okay. So I want to start with just your story. Like you kind of had it all. Like you're being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. You had, a beautiful family. You were driving the car, had the big house. So kind of on the outside, everything looked good. But what was happening on the inside for you? Because, obviously there was a big change, career change. So what was happening on the inside for you?
Well, I always had really big ambitions as a child. I always saw myself from a young age wanting to have a big impact on the world. Who knows where that drive comes from, right? But I knew wherever it came from, I had a big one. But, especially as a young girl, that made me really awkward and intense. And I got scared in my early 20s that I was just going to work my way into loneliness and that I would create this successful career and have no one around. That's a reasonable fear when you're 21, 22 years old and working 80 hours a week. And so I went on this search for being normal. I joined online dating websites, and I remember I even went to Shabbat dinners, and I'm not even religious. Like, what was I doing there? I don't really know. I was, it was really about not even necessarily family pressure, but social pressure to all these messages that we get. If you don't follow the specific script, you are going to be lonely, miserable, and dissatisfied with your life. And I believed it. And so what happened is I constructed the life that I thought I was supposed to have, even though I had this burning desire to be doing other things. So I had this massive lack of alignment between what my passions were and then the structure of my life, which was set up to basically look like a magazine article because I was young and naive.
I think that, I know that anyone who's listening so many people must resonate with that, because that's kind of, we end up, so many people I know who I work with in my community, they, on the outside, they look like they have it all, but on the inside, it's just this huge misalignment. And that's what we work on, is helping people figure out what their values are and their vision, and then work towards that. So what were the signs or the symptoms that, things were not aligned, and what finally spurred you into action?
Yeah. And I also just want to make a note that, for a lot of people who get married and buy a home and have children love that life. And that is genuinely, authentically happy for them. Totally fine. It's more for those of us who felt kind of outside of the norm growing up, whatever the heck that means, where we don't feel like we have permission to break the mold. And so I knew that I was really going to have to break the mold, because I was living both my passions, which I couldn't put away, even though I tried at times. I was like, I'm nuts. I need to hamper myself down and fit into more of a box that's appropriate for me, while also being wife and being mom and being attachment mom and being breastfeeding mom and being, all of those things at once. And the pressure of living both to social ideals as well as to personal ambitions is freaking exhausting, and it will run you into the ground.
Did you get run into the ground?
Oh my God, like over and over and over again. Yeah, I did. And I don't now. And it's, my life is set up so differently, totally in alignment. Finally, I'm almost 40. It's about time to figure these things out. But it was almost like I spent my whole 20s getting into a box, my 30s getting out of the box. And now my 40s is going to just be like,
yeah,
we'll see.
Like the clouds breaking through, the angels singing. So what? Okay, we're going to talk about the book, but since we're here,
this is the book. I mean, this is the book.
This is the book, exactly. This is the book. So, talk to us about how you're preventing yourself from falling into the burnout, and because I know that's everyone wants to know that.
Well, I'm going to say some things that are pretty atypical and maybe even slightly controversial, and maybe not appealing to everyone. That was a lot of qualifiers, but I'll just tell you, which is that I am no longer married, and I have joint custody with my children. And one thing that I am super fascinated by is the fact that our society really pressures women to always say, my children come first, and then everything else. It's like we have to be selfless and make everyone more important. I'm not saying that we need to flip that necessarily, but we do need to value ourselves as much as we value others. And part of my ability to work and make money is my ability to take care of my children and maintain my own happiness so that I'm a better mom. So what's really worked for me is that in our separation, my ex-husband and I are now co-parents, and I'm able to spend equal amounts of time with my children, with my work, and with myself. That gives me actual space to just be me and not always be serving everybody else's needs. So,
oh my God, hallelujah. No, I totally understand that. And so we have a 2-year-old, and by the way, like Amanda actually worked with my husband years before I even met my husband. So it's like this small, crazy world. But anyway, we have a 2-year-old, and it has been quite difficult. Like I've struggled with that very same thing, because in order for me to be happy, I have to be working. I love my work. I need to be working. And I remembered, that first year of navigating that balance. And it's just like, no, I need to be working. I need to go to my yoga class. I need to take care of myself in order to even show up for my daughter. So I really appreciate your saying that. That's very...
Yeah, and I deeply empathize. I often joke, but not really, that until kids become 4 years old, they are really, 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 really time consuming. And for a lot of people, it's far more depressing than people will admit in public.
Oh, I will admit, I feel like I'm, post-traumatic. Like, I mean, I'm hoping it's post-traumatic growth, but it was traumatic year one for sure. So, yeah. So let's talk about, so you launched Daily Worth, and you basically have been studying women in finance for like the past 8+ years.
That's all I've thought about.
Amazing.
Fascinating subject.
Yeah. So tell us what you're seeing now on the horizon, and like what spurred you to write this book, because there's some exciting things that are about to happen for women in money.
Totally. So the reason why I wrote this book was, like me, I was surrounded by hundreds, thousands, and I knew there were probably millions of women who had big dreams, who wanted to live a life, not only maybe as a mother, maybe not as a mother, maybe as a wife, maybe not as a wife, but definitely career-wise had an idealistic outlook for themselves. And my observation with so many of them was that they were still disassociated from or disengaged from money. And I'm thinking, if we really want to shift the energy of our world into a more balanced, happier place for more people, starting with women who are half of the population, and what I now believe is a culturally socialized disassociation from money, was just a fantastic thing for me to spend my time on, because it was clearly a huge problem that needed to be addressed. And I didn't find anything out there that worked for me. So, and I looked and looked and looked and looked. So that's what I was like, there's got to be a way to shift women's experience of money.
One of the things I'm so grateful for in your book is just how you don't make me feel like crap about myself. Because
you do enough of that on your own.
I do enough of that on my own. And you just one of the things that I love, one of the phrases you use is reset. And so there have been many moments, especially in multiple iterations of launching my business and businesses, where I wasn't really standing in my power around money. And that I just remember once being in the shower and just feeling like, oh my God, I can't believe I've supported women entrepreneurs for 10 years and this is my situation. And so I just really appreciate the tone in your book, because it can feel so hopeless at times, especially when you have financial advisors telling you what you have to put away for retirement and how you need a budget and all this stuff. And in your book, you're kind of giving permission for there to be another way, and also giving hope for another way. So can you talk a little bit about, maybe let's talk about the roots and the wings, because that's a really nice
Of course.
framework.
And I still am there too. I still have moments where I go, oh my God, if my credit card statement went on the internet right now, all of my credibility would be lost. But it's not just about the fact that these curveballs hit your life and your finances go poof. It's about your ability to regenerate in the face of them and not slide back into old patterns that make them far, far worse. It's about, you can't avoid the curveballs, but it is about developing a sense of humor about it and being able to spring back quickly, not internalizing it as you're hopeless and bad with money.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I just remember all of this stuff was designed as my own personal self-help project. So I am the greatest student as well as a teacher of all this, and consistently using it and testing it on myself over and over and over again. And when it works, that's when I write a book.
I was going to say, that's why I went to happiness school.
Right. There you go. So so the reason why there's a lot of reasons why I wrote the book. It was really because I had 8 years of information that I'd finally, after investigating into the why and the how women are disinterested, disengaged, or so overwhelmed with money, I had answers that needed a book, not just a blog post. But really, the number one thing that it comes down to is overwhelm and a deep sense of lack of control that is the most paralyzing, especially for most women. And a lot of that comes from the fact that there is this finger wagging that goes on that's practically ubiquitous across our financial services industry that says the only way to be successful with money is to create a budget and then to set goals and then to work towards those goals and develop all the willpower and don't slide off those goals. And if you do, you're bad. And that is the dominant conversation, which just doesn't work for most people. There's this disconnect. So what I did was I said, let's just put budgeting over on the side for a second, okay? Because only 30% of people can budget. Everybody else needs other systems. And if you're so confused, should I pay down my mortgage? Should I add more to my IRA? Should I pay off my debt? Should I add more to my emergency fund? It's like, I only have $300 here and there's 8 hungry mouths for that money. What is it that I should do? So in the book, what I really teach you about is, first of all, understand just one number in your life. And that one number is your net worth. If you are married, that net worth is combined. And if you are not married, that net worth is just about you, just separate. I'm now in a 6-year relationship with someone. He and I are not married and don't plan to be. So we're keeping our finances separate, even though our lives are otherwise integrated. And the idea behind net worth is that it's the value of everything that you own. Like, what's the market value of your house? What's the market value of your car if you own a car? What's the market value of your 401k or your retirement fund or another investment account that you have? And then how much cash do you have in the bank? Add all of those together, and that is your total equity. Those are your total assets. Cash is counted in that. And then you add together all of your debt. This includes your mortgage, student loans, credit card debt, and any other loans that you might owe your sister or your mother or your brother. And then you add all of those together, and those are your liabilities. And you subtract your liabilities from your assets, and that leaves you with a number that's either positive or negative or neutral, what have you. Every financial decision that you make has an impact on whether or not your net worth is increasing in value or decreasing in value. And that's really, really important, because the objective here is that while you are living your life, it would be really nice if you didn't have to work until you die.
Yes.
So, we want, just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean that you're going to have a lot of money. Income can go away and debt can eat it really, really fast. And just because you buy a house doesn't mean it's appreciating, especially if you have to invest hundreds of thousands into fixing it, or you're paying so much in mortgage interest. There's all these like weird things that you don't realize, where things that you think are investments are actually having a negative impact on your net worth. So the idea in Worth It, the book, is that first focus on your roots. Which assets are you going to build? Are you going to buy a house? Are you going to start a business? Are you going to invest in a retirement fund? And then how do you do those so that they appreciate in value relative to how much money you have to put in them to get them to work? And then how do you use your wings, which is your income, your credit, and your savings account, to fund your roots while also living your day-to-day life? And the point of that is that it doesn't give you these austerity measures that keep you trying to figure out how you're going to eke out $20 here and $20 there. It really gives you a North Star to focus on, so that you're putting your security first as opposed to your security last.
I love that. And you don't necessarily need, what I love in your book is that you give examples of people who are quote unquote very rich and doing, earning a lot of money, have like $1 million house, and then, someone who has a more modest income and rents. And it turns out that, just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean your net worth is really high. So what I love about this too is it gives you, so often when I'm helping support people navigate their next career move, whether that's a promotion within their organization, finding another job, finding their dream job, whatever it is, money, it kind of becomes this ambiguous threat, and they almost like either feel like they have to stay where they are, or they can't really pursue their dream because it's just this like ambiguous, like, oh, I can't risk that, but they don't even know exactly what they don't have all the information. And so what I love about net worth is to really think about, it's not just always about income. Right? It's not always about your income. So I really appreciate that. Let's talk about another piece of worth, which is self-worth, which is, I deal with that a lot too, especially helping people and especially helping women navigate their income. Talk to us about self-worth. What what advice do you have or perspective around really earning what you're worth?
Yeah, self-worth is a really tricky thing because, there's some people are born with more confidence than others. And unfortunately, as women, especially if you are someone who tends to be slightly more self-conscious or have a busier mind in terms of questioning yourself around things, society actually reinforces that as feminine and appreciates when you put yourself last. We've seen this come up in Daily Worth over and over again. And it so permeates our culture that it's hard for us to even see the extent to which these gender devised power dynamics play out. And when you try and modify them, you're going to get pushback from even the most progressive, open-minded sources that you are not anticipating. Yeah. And so you're not only, when you're battling your own demons around self-worth, you're not only dealing with whatever deep internalized feelings you've developed since a young age, but you're also being reinforced against social norms. So it's like, it's a great act of rebelliousness for women to value themselves. And I'm encouraging you to rebel at this point, because no one's going to do it but you, and it's not going to be easy, but your life depends on it. And you will remain dependent on others and feel insecure unless you decide to rebel against the norms of feminine should be like humble and quiet and shrink around everyone else. And the reason why it's really important in this book is the way to be able to take care of yourself no matter what, the way be able to design a life that you want to live, not that someone else told you to live, requires money and requires your control over that money. And the only way to save and invest for yourself is if you value yourself. Because if you don't choose to value yourself, the minute you get $10,000 in your savings account, you're probably going to give it away. Because if you don't value yourself, you're not going to be able to hold on to money. They're correlative. I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I see that happening not only with money, but with time, with energy, with opportunity. If you're not valuing yourself, then it all goes away. I actually have a client who her business is scheduled to gross around 15 million in 2 years, and she still struggles with self-worth. And so it's not just, I think it's not just about earning, it's really about recognizing your own value. And yeah, it's really freaking hard for some people. But one of the things that I do is I just actually sent out a proposal for a corporate training. And, I thought it was about time for me to raise my rates. And I was like, oh, can I really charge this? And one of the things that helped me was just to look at other people and, what they're charging and be like, wait, like if they can do it, why can't I? And so I just always try to stretch a little bit beyond what I'm comfortable with, but still feel aligned. So I have to feel aligned with it, but I always just push it a little bit over the edge of what I'm comfortable with. So, it's something I'm constantly wrestling with too.
It's important to treat it like a game.
Yeah.
Then you can fail and regenerate, kind of like you hit the reset button on the Nintendo box.
Exactly.
And it's like because of my book tour, I've been talking about video games a lot because I bring them up a lot. And so I've actually, when I have my kids or when I don't have my kids, I literally sit there in front of my vintage Nintendo these days and I'm playing Kid Icarus. And last weekend it was fun. I'm playing, I'm reliving my childhood.
Yeah.
And last weekend I got right to the top of level 1 twice and I got killed by the Grim Reaper right before the doorway. And I had to start over again twice. And I was like, yeah, how life feels sometimes. Try again. It's not as easy as they told us it was going to be.
Totally. And that's such a nice attitude. And that's what I always encourage my clients. We talk about the play mindset, which is just like, let's see what's going to happen instead of like, oh my God, I have to do this. I have to charge this, or I have to go have this conversation. It's like, well, let's see what happens. I wonder what's going to happen. And so just to add some lightness to it. So what advice do you have that you would like to leave us with? Anything that comes to mind?
The favorite thing that I love to teach everyone is that the thing that's going to give you the most peace of mind and the most security in the short term to give you that confidence is actually a liquid savings account, even if you have debt. And people think that as soon as you have credit card debt, that you just want to throw as much money as it is possible because it's expensive. And so it's like a disease you have to wash off yourself. But what I want to remind women in particular is that, no, it's important to pay more than the minimum just because of how much credit cards cost. But when you have extra money, try to split it between your savings account and your debt, and then eventually between your savings account and your retirement account, because liquid cash, even more so than paying down debt or saving for your retirement, is what's going to give you that peace of mind right now. And lastly, what I love to remind everyone is that, sometimes we'll buy something on discount, or we'll have plans with friends to go out to dinner, and then we'll say, you know what, I really can't afford this. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to cancel that right now because it doesn't serve me and I can't afford it. When you do that, calculate how much money you just saved and slide it into your savings account, and then do a dance, which I call the savings slide.
I love it.
Do a dance, which is the savings slide. And once you start dancing your way into savings, exactly, thank you, then you're like, it just becomes like a thing you want to do all the time.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, on that note, thank you so much, everybody. It's called Worth It. And I've already started modifying my behaviors and putting money into my retirement more aggressively. So I am really grateful to you, and congratulations on everything.
So good to see you again, and I'll see you in another 8 years.
Well, hopefully not, but congratulations. I'm sure you're going to have another book out soon too. So yeah, more to come, I'm sure. So thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you. So happy to be here with you.
Yeah.